and that we started almost 30 years ago. We are not in IT. We are industrial contracting. We also do lots of industrial automation. But just like everybody else nowadays, in our work, we utilize lots of high-tech methods. And that's why we always like to keep up with what's going on in the world in that respect. And for that matter, for the longest time, we have done our homework by doing corporate strategies along the years. For the last, maybe since 2005, we've been doing that for 5 years intervals, but quite recently, we did that for 3 years. The last of which was 2016 until 2018, and that was the material that I presented to you last time. Now this time, Khaldoon wanted me to talk about our new corporate strategy, but unfortunately, it is not out yet. It's due to be out by the end of this year. And I will just try to give you a glimpse of it, which I really hope that you can like it. Now, talking about coping with a changing economy, that is really a very scary and very, very large thing. It's not easy to talk about at all. First of all, I have to be politically correct, because as you all know, economy and politics are very linked together. And then, of course, I try my best to be very pragmatic and to get away from philosophical things, and I know that I will touch so many sensitive things here. Now, to me, when we talk about businesses or maybe even life, it's just like when you walk along a road with a compactor behind you. You like that, huh? That used to be not so bad. Maybe at that time, there was even trees all around. But the problem is, it is really becoming more complicated. So, first of all, this clicker is not working well. First of all, nowadays we have lots of people around us, very high competition. So even when we walk, we step on each other's feet. We have to watch out for other people. We have to watch out not to fall to the ground. And then even after that comes another challenge. The other challenge comes from things that are related to governments. It's not only taxation that we see. Governments come and put on our businesses heavy load to carry. So even when we want to walk, or sometimes we want to run in front of that compactor, we have to carry the loads. That's taxes, dues, different stamps, so many things that come from the government. But even on top of that comes a third very important thing, which is obstacles along the way, and that is really related to the challenges that we see locally. So wherever we have political problems, wherever we have security problems, closures, or border closures, or Arabic Spring, or whatever, that is really a big problem. So businesses have to overcome all of these, and that's really very hard. Carrying the load and competing with lots of other people, you have to cross over the stones and go along the road. But the real problem now is not that. The real problem is that the driver of that bloody compactor is speeding up for some reason. The high pace of life and the disruptions that are coming to face all of our businesses are really driving us crazy, because we have to keep up with that pace, and that's not easy at all. So in this presentation, I will not be talking about the high competition or any governmental related things or any local challenges. I'm just going to talk about the disruptions, the challenges that we see from the innovative disruptions that come around us. So that is what I'm going to concentrate on. Now, as you may remember, a disruptive innovation is when something happened all at once and it makes a big bang in the sector, in the business. So the definition is that it's an innovation that displaces established market leaders and alliances. This term was defined and phenomena analyzed by Mr. So-and-so 1995. So whenever you're working in any sector, all of a sudden you see that some big bank coming from somewhere and turning everything upside down and changes all of your business. Now, technically, the disruptions come in three forms. Disruption from the bottom and from the top, and the big bang disruptions. I'm not going to talk about these, but you know, one distinctive kind of disruption is when two sectors link together and come up with a new product. And that really makes a big change in the market. So examples of the disruptions, as we talked about previously, are a number of things. For example, when human beings used sword in the battlefield, and all of a sudden there was gunpowder, that was a disruption. That changed everything. When Kodak did not really live up to the changes that they came up with at the beginning to go into the digital cameras, they went after the business. When the paper media are not coping up with social media, they are going out of business. The landlines gave it up to the mobiles. Some of you have seen this before, and this is one photo that I really like. I always ask people about it, which is, this is the Fifth Avenue in New York in 1900. And at that time, there was lots of carriages. And in this photo, there was only one automobile, okay? So I always ask, where is the automobile? And that's it. But the striking thing is only, go back, is only 13 years after that, a huge change happened at the very same place, only in 13 years, and there is no horse. It's all in cars. Another thing is when human beings managed to go from zero flying, when Brothers Wright, 1903, flight their first trip, into going into the moon in 1969, and that was a real big thing only in 66 years, okay? And then this is the time that took different products to reach 50 million users, and you can see the difference. 75 years for phones, that goes all the way to 35 days for the Angry Birds, okay? And that really shows you the pace at which disruptions take for that matter. So anyway, you have seen those slides before, but for this particular presentation, I thought that this is talking about high-tech, so we should try to do it in a high-tech manner. So I thought of inviting Sophia in. You know Sophia? Sophia, the robot who was invited to a number of conferences all around. But the time at which our Canada, ThechnoCanada, were working on this presentation, Sophia couldn't join in because she didn't have the visa to get in, because she holds a Saudi national passport, as you know. So she couldn't make it to Canada. So we thought of using something else. Maybe, go back. Maybe the voice assistant things like Siri or Alexa, which is very common nowadays. And it's really funny to deal with them. But then we thought, why don't we try to come up with a new thing? An Arabic artificial intelligence, or at least semi-artificial intelligence guy. And I want to introduce you to him because I want him to help me in that. But before that, I have to wear this gadget, so there would be some communication. Let's see.
and gentlemen. Salam alaikum. I am a member of ThechnoGroup. They call me Joe. This is my boss, engineer Nabil Kamal. Hi, sir.
Hello, Joe. How are you today?
Very good, thank you.
It's really nice to see you in Amman, Joe.
Yeah, it's lovely. I am especially excited to be in this InCube conference.
Oh, Joe, did you meet our host, Dr. Khaldun Kilani?
Oh, not yet. Where are you, doctor?
I really don't know where is he. Did he run away? Khaldun? Ah, he ran away. Yeah. Here he is.
Nice to meet you, doctor.
Okay. Joe, we are going to talk here about coping with a changing economy. And I know this is very difficult. And I know that the economy is facing lots of disruptions, of new innovative disruptions. So I want you to help us in exploring the impact of such an disruption. What do we expect?
Want me to predict the future? Sure, I could do that. In a way.
صوت صلى I'm sorry for the technical problems, but this is related to the whole. Anyway, Joe, where are you?
I've been ready for a while now, waiting for you to finish your drink. Guten Appetit.
Entschuldigen Sie. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I could speak 5,347 different languages, including all those spoken on Earth with different accents and voices.
Trying to show up now here?
أبدا بس زهقان وأنا أنتظر يا سيدي.
سيدي أنا خايف اليوم اللي بيكون الكمبيوترات أسيادنا. جو?
0 hour, first evidence of mankind on Earth. The next main event took place in February, when mankind discovered fire.
This is actually a presentation
Quelling
saying that, and I want you to go back one slide, please. Go back one slide, because this is important introduction.
At the 0 hour.
So this, let me make the introduction here. This is a presentation about the representation of the humankind developments along the years. And it took the whole 250,000 years of human development and squeezed that into one supposed year, just for us to comprehend how fast and what's the pace of change in human development and innovations. So Joe is going to demonstrate here the different milestones that humankind went through to get to this point.
At the 0 hour, first evidence of mankind on Earth. The next main event took place in February, when mankind discovered fire. Then, humans began dwelling in caves. After that, there was an uneventful snooze for a few months. In July, you learned verbal communication.
Language of May.
In September, humans began counting. In October, mankind started using bones as tools. Then, the bow and arrow. In December, the pace picks up. Domestication of animals. Invention of pottery. Beginning of farming. Evolution of the first city. Invention of the wheel. Beginning of textile industry. Then, development of crops irrigation. First use of metals. Next, building river boats. Invention of writing. Creation of black ink. Development of cement material. Start of Bronze Age. Usage of hieroglyphic numerals. Creation of the solar calendar. Developing the Phoenician alphabet. Beginning of the Iron Age. The Greek created the first coins. Discovery of magnets. Building the Library of Alexandria. Archimedes' buoyancy principle. Pythagorean theorem for triangles. Blowing glass into pots. Invention of weighing scales. The Chinese created paper. The Slavs developed the plow. Design of the horseshoe. Chemistry basics by Jabir ibn Hayyan. Description of Arabic numerals. Algebra by Al-Khwarizmi. Medicine by Ibn Sina. Lenses by Ibn al-Haytham. Developing water mills. Creating windmills. Discovering gunpowder. Creating printing press. Telescope by Galileo. Gravity principle by Newton. Steam engine. Smallpox vaccine. Electric battery. Electromagnetism. Portland cement. Telegraph. London Underground. Oil pipeline. Suez Canal. Electric motor. Telephone. Phonograph. Light bulb. Automobiles. X-ray. Radio. Airplanes. Einstein's relativity. Ford. Polymers. TV. Radar.
Turing machine, atomic reactions, microwave, transistor, computer, DNA, laser, calculator, microprocessor, Apollo 11, internet, GPS, nanotechnology, electric vehicles, solar panels, artificial intelligence, space shuttle, 3D printer, smartphones, Amazon, Internet of Things, quantum computers, iPod, drones, Uber, cryptocurrency, Hyperloop, augmented reality, Wi-Fi.
Did you get the idea? Historically, human innovation looks like this. To extrapolate this into the future, wow! This looks very challenging. Nobody can exactly predict the upcoming human innovations. But it is most definite that both the pace and magnitude would be extremely high. The huge expected jump during the current fourth industrial revolutions is extremely disruptive to both economy and social order.
Joe, you left me and I think most of the people here speechless. Do you mean to say that it took us 10 out of 12 months just to get into caves or just to learn to count? And it was at the 25th of December that we went into the Iron Age? Joe?
Sir, with all due respect, all the significant modern innovations were done only in the last half hour of the last day of this supposed year representing humankind development. And
what?
This is only escalating.
Joe, I want expert's opinion here, not yours.
In the next few years, I expect the digital transformation of life to bring huge changes. Everything from science to healthcare to sensors to robotics.
Whether it's information technology and the acceleration we see in artificial intelligence, you just look across the board and you can see a lot is happening.
It's really the notion of digital technology pervasively impacting every walk of life in every vertical industry on all parts of the globe.
The speed is mind-boggling. What I'm particularly concerned about it is how little the world is prepared for the fourth industrial revolution.
If we are not innovative, if we're not creative enough, it will be very difficult to survive in this century.
Countries in emerging markets should take the lead. Mobile platforms will define how fast the fourth industrial revolution will be embraced by the country.
It's very difficult to try to bridge the gap between a borderless industrial revolution that's being governed by different policies and regulations in each territory and country.
We're always looking for new technology and how it makes the process more efficient, how it makes the quality higher. But one of the things that it's really creating is a need for those that have a technical background.
52% of the encounters with our primary care physicians were handled virtually. Just a massive change.
The technologies available today to scientists, to clinicians, and to everyday people will impact and change healthcare forever.
Humans and machines are assisting each other, augmenting each other with skills.
Humanity itself will be changed with this superintelligence, and we are at the doorstep of that era.
My hope is that we have a robust discussion for how this can truly help our world solve some of the hard-pressed challenges that we have today.
The world has changed. We can never ever go back to yesterday.
Wow. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Engineer Nabil Kamal. Thanks, everyone. Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thanks a lot, Joe. Thank you for your contribution. And I want to share with you some very interesting slides. Did you know that 90% of all the scientists that ever lived are alive today? Okay, and that really gives you a huge indication of the very high pace of development and what is coming up. Quite interesting, in the year 1899, they thought that everything that can be invented has been invented already at that time. Okay? But anyway, this and the next slide are the ones that I showed you last year. But I tried to update some of the subtopics here. I'm not gonna go through what we talked about last time. Now, the red ones are the main topics where high technology is taking part of. In this slide, energy, transportation, education, environment, water purification, manufacturing. So last time we talked in length about solar and about how solar is really coming into the market and actually driving the fossil fuels away. And as a matter of fact, it is now official that OPEC announced that the peak demand of oil would happen in 2 or 3 years from today. So that's really official. Would you please click on solar, just to share with you some couple things that happened here. Let me remind you, when we talked last time about grid parity, we said that grid parity is when the price of electricity from renewable sources are equivalent to the price of electricity that you buy from the grid. And at that time, we were looking at the curves, and we were looking at the price of solar going down, and actually the other traditional energy sources going up. And it is when they intersect is when the grid parity happens. And that is different from one place to another, from one country to another. And I mentioned at that time that Deutsche Bank has done a very extensive study at every country in the world to see whether it has reached the grid parity or not. I can safely say today that all the countries in the world by now have reached grid parity. So it is now cheaper everywhere in the face of Earth to produce energy from renewable sources more than, better than the traditional ones. Something else I want to share with you, which I'm very proud of. which is along the 2 years since we talked, is that we in ThechnoGroup have managed to develop a complete Jordanian concentrated photovoltaics. It has gone through all the R&D phases. It is up and running, and we expect to have the full scale, the large scale installation by the beginning of next year. Okay. Going back to the main slide, let me share with you something about EV cars. And again, last time I told you that, and last time that means 2015, or our study was 2014, that EV cars would really be the norm, and they are. We can all witness that everywhere in the Middle East and even globally. And one of the suggestions that I gave last time was that it is really wise now to get into the auto industry, because in the conventional ICE, internal combustion engine industry, in any engine, you have something like 5,000 rotating elements, and that's a lot, and that's really a big hassle. While, while in the EV cars, it is very simple. You have only maybe 20 of them. It's really very simple. So now getting into the auto industry, I think really into the EV auto industry, I really think makes sense. And I have noticed lately that an announcement here in Jordan about a company that would be established in Jordan to do CKD, completely knocked down assembly of cars. That would be in Aqaba, although the very same announcement was publicized last year in Madaba. Now it's in Aqaba. I don't know why. I really hope that this is related to EV, because if it is not, if it is something related to ICE, then I'm sorry to say that maybe this is one way for the international companies to get rid of their current production lines, because every single company, auto producing company in the world nowadays know that the ICE cars are doomed. So maybe they want to get rid of one of their production lines with a salvage value or so. Self-driving cars. This is a curve from a recent tweet from Elon Musk about Tesla. And we know that the sales of Tesla are really escalating. But the interesting thing here is that the demand on the autopilot, the high model autopilot, is the one which is picking up a lot. The blue ones are for the regular Teslas without the self-driving features. But the orange and green are for the different levels of self-driving features. And you can clearly notice that people are really in great demand, or they're demanding self-driving features. And we can see lots of cars in the West that are self-driven. Now, this is a curve representing that the Tesla cars, the EV cars, are now exceeding the sales of both the BMWs and the Mercedes, all together combined. And please operate the video.
Okay, I'm not going to touch it.
Just
I'm
to
not
show
touching
you.
it. Yeah, no, the car's watching. It sees. Oh my gosh, the car knows exactly where the person ahead of me is in the lane.
This is the real life thing.
Because I could see it here on the dash.
And for myself, have seen such things.
Red light. Oh my gosh, this is so... I'm not touching it at all, and it's driving. Whoa, the lanes are getting a little... Oh, no, there it goes, and it stops. You can see all of the sensors going back and forth on the dashboard display here. Oh my gosh, it's changing lanes on its own. Oh my gosh, it's changing lanes on its own.
This just show you, of course we don't see this here in Ammar or the Middle East, but in the West, or mostly in the US, now it's very common to see self-driven cars, and people do it with comfort and with ease. Now, the next slide is for other disruptions, financial, IT, automation, agriculture, communications, space, medical, tourism, production. And as I mentioned before, we can talk for hours about all of these, but we don't have the time for that. So I just chose a number of them just to share with you. For example, I want you to click on robotics, Tamer. just to see the advancements of how complicated the robotics are these days. This is the production of the company Boston Dynamics. You can see the balance. Something like this is really difficult, huh? Just look at this, the other one. In this one, what is really striking is when the scientists try to tip it over and it regains balance by itself. Okay? And these are real things. These are not dreams. Difficult terrain, given snow or blocks or mud. The challenge is really high. The development of robots is possessing a real challenge to different jobs. Kamal, enough. Okay. Artificial intelligence. Before you operate it, I want to tell you about this very interesting thing. Artificial intelligence is Facebook had those robots which can speak different languages. And I have seen a presentation where they were demonstrating these robots. So the robot was supposed to, or the mission of the robot is to sit with anybody and figure out what language is he speaking, and then communicate with him efficiently. That means with the least number of words, he has to communicate a certain idea. So that went well, and everything was fine, until somebody from the scientists had the idea of putting two robots together and try to see what are they going to do. So this is what happened. So this is a new cat.
Facebook has enacted an emergency shutdown of 2 artificial intelligence programs. The social media giant leapt into action after it discovered the 2 programs were writing their own code. At first they thought it was simply gibberish, but they soon realised the programs had invented their own language and were actually talking to each other.
Actually what happened, and they explained that to us, is that you know, the English language, for example, with 26 letters, and if you have 1-letter words, that gives you 26 probabilities. If you have 2, that's 26 by 26. Now, the total number of words in English are a certain figure, where you can formulate only with 3 letters. But we see the letters with 6 or 7 or maybe 8 or 10 letters, the words with that much of letters. The reason for that is that us human beings cannot comprehend talking about ZFN, for example. We have to have vowels, we have to differentiate, our minds have to differentiate between different layers, but computers don't require that. So for computers, only a 3-letter word language can do the job. So this is what happened. Quite rapidly, only in 20 minutes, the 2 computers developed their own language and they started communicating with each other. And that was really scary. And that was when even Facebook had to shut this down. So this is going into very scary areas, but it is there. I want you also to click on space, because in the last 2 years we have noticed the development of the space industry, and it is going in a very fast way, And we know that Tesla managed to do a number of launches where they retracted the rockets back, okay? And that was really nice, seeing the rockets going back. And now it's very cheap to get into space. And their CEO, again, Mr. Elon Musk, said that 2020, the first mission to Mars would go. And not only that, he gave a very striking thing. He wrote his will. He said that he wants to be buried in Mars, not in a crash. But he wants that to mark that human beings are capable into getting to Mars. And I'm pretty sure that there is a good chance that he can do it. Anyway, these are like a chart of disruptions. I don't have lots of time, but I have still some slides to share with you. I will go through them very fast. I'll try to do it from here. These are other disruptions. Uber, BNB, precision farming, manufacturing, the hyperloops, education. All of this really reminds me of a story that I and maybe some of you have read when we were little guys. It's The Time Machine, okay? And that was a novel written in 1800 or something like that. It was about a guy who manages to go through time into the future, and then he finds different things. He finds people living in harmony, and they have everything that they need. But then during the night, he discovered that there are other people living underground, and they don't have anything at all. And that really strikes me now, because it really resembles that the social impact of the innovations, disruptions are really great. And to me, it is as if that guy is living these days. I really like that story. But anyway, I have maybe 6 slides. I will go through them very fast. The first couple of them is about the expected features of the regional economy, because, again, economy is the presentation topic. We expect huge demographical changes, okay? Some cities would emerge. We have now New Amman, New Cairo, Neom, whatever, and some cities would diminish. Demographical changes would happen because of wars and problems in the region, and we're talking here regional. Increasing national debts, diminishing national surpluses, recovering out of war, hopefully, which would lead into rebuilding. Syria, Yemen, Iraq, Libya. I don't know whether, when would that happen. I hope it would happen very fast, but I don't know who would be benefiting from those, especially, for example, in Syria. We all in Jordan are hoping that we will have a piece of a cake. I don't know whether we would have that. Political stability or after instability, we have to look into the after Trump era, because that would really affect us. Social benefits to the citizens would be diminishing. Heavy pressure on the weak infrastructures. I'm not talking only about Jordan, I'm talking about the region. Significant decrease in the family size nowadays. Scary unemployment figures. The youth percentage are very high, but the jobs that are offered are very little. There is a great pressure on the Pan-Arab Economic Treaty. Some countries are getting out of it. We expect that more countries would do that. Social security funds are the immense pressure. Labor laws, we think that it will get looser. The rule of law is being challenged every day. There are security threats. The one that we have saw yesterday in SALT was one of them. Limited expatriation chances for the youth. So it's not like the old times when people used to go to the Gulf, for example, for work and for employment. Governmental direct and indirect subsidies will disappear, because governments nowadays are trying to relieve themselves from all such habits. I would not say responsibilities, but I would say habits. There will be very tight banking processes. They are already tracking us and monitoring every single one of us. Currency stability, heavy pressure. there would be definitely problems in that regard. Then the stability and instability of the political situation remains to be seen. So that's regional. And globally, let me remind you of this article titled, "The Global Economy Will Never Be the Same Again." And there was very interesting things there talking about the collapse, in the last 20 years, the collapse of the Soviet Union, the emergence of India and China and Brazil, the BRIC countries, and that has created like 1 billion jobs in the world. All of that is gone already. So now the global economy globally is really changing. And some of the features as such are, maybe there will be the emergence of a bipolar system again, or maybe tripolar, nobody knows. The WTO is just like the Pan-Arab Treaty. It is under pressure, and Mr. Trump does not spare any effort to chatter it all and throw it into the garbage bin. AI is dominating, and it is posing a real threat to humanity. Population implosion is the problem. I remember when we were kids, we were taught that population explosion is the problem, and that was a pressure on resources. But the real problem is implosion, when people get less and less. Because in order for economy to have growth, you have to have demand. And in order to do that, you have to have more people. But nowadays, there is a problem in Europe, very apparent, of implosion. There is even a problem in China. After the one-child rule, nowadays they are begging people to bring 2 or 3 more children. People don't like that. Because nowadays China is like 1,200 million people, and if they just go with the same pace that they have been doing, so in 20 years there would be 600 people. And there would be no need for hospitals, roads, schools, airports, whatever. So there would be no growth. So implosion is a problem globally. Huge change in the job structure. Recent reports said that 15 main job sectors are going to be lost in favor of robots, some of which are really interesting. For example, they foresee everybody that works in transportation, or even in military, or in farming, all of that would be gone very soon to artificial intelligence robots. There are really very credible reports as such. Demographic structures in Europe will force them to find solutions. Europe cannot just stay as such, because it's really becoming the old continent. Now the term old continent have a different meaning. The meaning is that people over there are aging, and there are not as much as needed of youth. Global warming, we all can feel it now. Not in Amman. Anybody who came from Europe or even from North America for the last couple of weeks, global warming is very evident. Tight governmental control of citizens, our big brother. Now we are being monitors. We feel of a loss of identity. Everything that we do, our belongings, our movements, our social life, everything, our bank accounts is really monitored. So these would be the features that we have to cope up with. But can we wait until the fourth industry takes all of that impact? We cannot wait. We have to start working from now. So what should we do? Lots of things. We have to invest in our brainware. And I'm not talking about software. I'm not talking about hardware. I'm talking about brainware. We have to invest in our brains. We have to keep walking, never stop. If you stop, the compactor guy would run you over. So don't stop, just keep walking. Concentrate on your point of strength, analyze your business models, identify your PESTEL, SWOT, create KPIs and monitor them. Buy only high-tech products. Never go and buy, if you want to buy a car, buy an EV. If you want to buy a mobile, buy the latest model. Because otherwise, if you buy anything, it will be outdated very soon. You know, guys, I'm not in the IT business. You're here for this InCube conference. And I'm pretty sure that Khaldoon and his team are going to present a number of products on you. I can tell you, you do not have the option of not buying those. You have the option of buying them from different sources, but you do not have the option of not buying those, because if you don't, you'll be out of business very soon. So go ahead and buy them from InCube, and I'll get the commission. What is Khaldun? Good? Okay. So only buy high-tech. Never say, this is too sophisticated for me. I see that people my age don't like to deal with new gadgets. This is too sophisticated. So never say that. Just try as much as possible to keep up. Merge your business with others. For example, people who work in clothing, they're merging this with electronics. Food are merging this with 3D printing. Stay at the proper size. If you're too large, that's very costly. But if you're too small, the big fish would definitely eat the small fish. So brainware. Brainware is not hardware. Hardware is that when we have physical things, physical assets, and software is when you build on this and write your code. But brainware is a comprehensive concept that really combines both of them and even more. And that takes another complete presentation, so I will not get into details about it, but this is what I meant when I said brainware. To proceed, other advices, plant your seed in the proper soil. Somebody, an Indian guy actually, told me this term in Dubai. And he said, we were comparing the businesses, and he said that to me. If you want to do your business, do it in the proper size and proper location. That's very important. Utilize the changes in energy costs. Now, all of these disruptions, I don't want you to get the idea that these are only threats. These are also opportunities, because the changes in the energy costs between different countries is really creating new opportunities. Try to grasp them. The demographic changes, people moving from one place to another, refugees, expatriation, immigration, all of that would really create lots of business. Use it. With your competitors, do it. You do it as cooperation and not as competition. So that is usually said like co-opetition. So you compete and you cooperate together. Utilize the social networks, get into the cyber world. Continuous learning, never stop, increase your knowledge, embrace teamwork, because people, individuals cannot really achieve things. Conduct what-if scenarios. So you have to have your own what-if scenarios. So in case a problem happens, I have to ask myself, what if there was a devaluation in currency tomorrow? What should I do? I would not wait until that happens. I should have a pre-planned plan to deal with it at the time. Always stay at the edge. Did I take a long time? Somebody track me time. I need maybe 3 minutes. Draw exit strategies. Dream and dream and dream. Never stop dreaming. I know it is hard these days with all the problems, and I keep hearing people complain, but put all of that aside and dream and dream. Diversify geographically and in your sector. Work hard and enjoy life hard, because that really makes a big difference. Push your team to the limits and reward them. I like this. Watch sci-fi movies, the science fiction movies. Okay? This is not for joke. Watch them, because whatever you dream of, whatever you see science fiction now, it is going to be real very soon. Get into the cyber virtual world. Very nice thing. The SMEs, the family business, the garage business, the startup business, this is important. Utilize the resources, your resources here, and I'm talking about materials and also about knowledge. Go downstream in order to increase the added value, maximize the added value, and sell the services along with the product. Don't sell only the product, the service along with it. Leave the red ocean and go to the blue ocean, Salama. The red ocean is when you get into an area where there is lots of people competing in that area. It would be like a massacre, lots of blood. So the ocean would be filled with blood, a red ocean. choose another ocean, a blue one, where there is not much competition. Always have your internal vision. Innovate. If the problems, if the challenge comes from innovation, so go ahead and innovate. If you cannot beat them, join them. Go global in your business. Keep very close eye on the regional and global developments. Concentrate on products with the local content and concentrate on export-oriented things. This is very important also. You have to have this dimension in order to be secure from any currency problems. Utilize the trade agreements. I have known that Sami told me that, for example, the FTA, the free trade agreement between Jordan and the US, is very much underutilized. So there are lots of things that we can utilize. And the last thing, which I really like, and this comes from the late Steve Jobs. It was in a speech that he gave in Harvard. And as you may know, Steve Jobs, the founder and CEO, the late Steve Jobs of Apple, is not a university graduate. And when he gave that speech to Harvard, at the end, he said to everybody, I want you to stay hungry and stay foolish. And that meant that you always never stop looking for new business. Always feel that you're hungry for business. Do it as if you are really in bad need for it. And never think that you know it all. You have to think of yourself that I am foolish, I have to learn more. So that means run for business and learn more. That's all I have to say. I know that if they leave it for me, I can take the whole conference. I'm sorry if I took a long time. Thank you very much. I hope to see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.